I used to believe loyalty meant safety. If you gave your heart fully, the world would protect you. That was the lie I lived inside. Relax, Evelyn said, brushing my hand. You worry too much. I smiled because smiling was easier than questioning her. Evelyn was everything to me. My partner, my anchor, my plan. I trusted her more than myself, more than money, more than common sense. When I lost my job, she covered rent. When my confidence cracked, she held my face and said, "We'll survive together." I believed her because I needed to. "You don't have to prove anything to me." She used to say, "I know," I told her. "But I want to." That was how our life worked. She steadied me. I leaned on her. Maybe leaned too hard. Marcus entered our lives quietly. ExpensiveSuits.com voice. Always polite. He never raised his tone, never rushed his words. He would smile at me like I was temporary furniture. "Marcus helped me with a client today," Evelyn said once, too casually. "That's good," I replied. "He seems capable." Marcus laughed softly. Capable is one word. I didn't notice how often his name came up after that. I didn't question the dinners that ran late or the messages she silenced when I entered the room. Love makes you generous with excuses. "Are you okay?" I asked her one night. She hesitated. "Justa second, I'm fine." That pause stayed with me, but I buried it. I told myself, stress changes people. Ambition reshapes them. Fear makes them quiet. "You trust me, right?" she asked suddenly. "Of course," I said without thinking. She looked away. "Good." The silences grew heavier. She stopped sharing details. Her laugh sounded practiced. When I reached for her at night, she sometimes flinched. "You're imagining things," I told myself. Marcus started calling, not me, her, always her. "He has opportunities," she said. "Real ones. For us." I asked. "For the future," she answered, not meeting my eyes. I should have heard the difference. One evening, she sat across from me, fingers wrapped tight around her mug. "Let's go away," she said. "Just U.S. Where? To mountains. No phones. No noise. We need a reset." I searched her face. There was something there I couldn't name. Not love. Not fear, exactly. Something colder, buried deeper. "You look scared," I said. She shook her head quickly. "I just don't want to lose us." Those words hooked into me. I nodded because I wanted to be the man she didn't lose. "When do we leave?" "Primera vez." "Primera vez." She smiled then, but it didn't reach her eyes. Soon, she said, "Trust me." Marcus joined us for dinner the night before we planned the trip. "You're lucky," he said, tapping the table. "Evelyn believes in you." I laughed, nervous. "I believe in her." He leaned closer. "Belief is fragile." Evelyn cut in. "Marcus, it's advice," he replied. "Mountains have a way of clarifying things." I frowned. "What does that mean?" He smiled. "It means trips change people." After he left, I asked, "Why does he talk like that?" "She washed dishes too hard." "He's intense." "Do you want to go?" I asked. She stopped. "I need this." I nodded. Again, silence stretched between us. I wanted to ask about Marcus, about money, about the future, but fear glued my tongue. She touched my wrist. "Trust me," she whispered. "This will fix us." I saw something close behind her eyes, like a door shutting. I told myself it was exhaustion. I kissed her hand and said, "Okay." The warning stayed quiet, but it remained. I did. That trust followed me like a shadow, quiet and loyal. As I packed my bag and ignored the warning pounding in my chest, I told myself, love protected fools. I didn't know yet that love was the knife already at my back. We drove higher into the mountains, and the air felt thinner, sharper, like it was cutting secrets out of us. Evelyn didn't hum, didn't joke, didn't reach for my hand. She stared ahead and said, You ever think about what we're worth? I laughed nervously and said, Together? Everything. She didn't smile. I mean, individually, she replied. What happens if love isn't enough? Primera tolder. Love is always enough, if we fight for it. She tapped the steering wheel and said, Marcus says security matters more than feelings. I felt a sting hearing his name. Why does his opinion matter so much? I asked. She answered softly, because he offers things I can't ignore. The silence afterward pressed down on me harder than the road climbing upward around us. At the cabin, she moved like a guest, not a partner. I asked, Are you angry with me? She said, No, I'm realistic now. That word hurt more than anger. Over dinner, she finally spoke. My family thinks I'm wasting my life, she said. They say, Marcus can give me stability, respect, a future. I leaned forward and said, I can give you that too, just not overnight. She looked tired. Promises don't pay debts, she replied. Marcus doesn't promise. He delivers. I felt small hearing that. So, what am I to you? I asked. She paused and said, Someone I care about, but caring isn't enough anymore. Her voice stayed calm. But my chest burned as if something essential was quietly being removed from my life right then there. Night came early. I tried to touch her, and she pulled away. I need space, she said. Later, I heard her step outside. The walls were thin. I heard Marcus's voice through her phone, low and confident. He believes you, he asked. Evelyn answered, completely. My heart slammed against my ribs. Marcus laughed softly. Then you know what you have to do, she whispered. I know. I stood frozen, every word carving into me. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but fear glued my feet to the floor. I told myself I misunderstood. I told myself love wouldn't betray me. The night outside felt alive, listening, waiting while my faith cracked silently under the weight of what I had heard and refused to face, yet alone inside myself. The next morning, she acted normal. That scared me more than the cold silence. Did you sleep? I asked. Enough, she said. I packed our bags and said, After this trip, I'll work harder. I'll fix everything. She looked at me with something like pity. You shouldn't have to fix yourself for love, she replied. But I will, I said. I'll become someone you're proud of. She turned away and whispered, Pride comes with price. I laughed weakly and said, I'm not afraid of sacrifice. She looked at me then, really looked, and said nothing. Her silence felt heavier than any argument. I mistook that quiet for fear, not realizing it was calculation settling into place between us, steady, patient, and already decided against me forever that day there alone. As we drove deeper into the mountains, the road narrowed and my chest tightened. I told myself this trip would save us. I told myself loyalty still meant safety. Evelyn reached over and said, Trust me. I nodded without hesitation. I didn't see the cliff hidden ahead, only the woman beside me. I believed love protected fools, and I was proud to be one. I didn't know I was being led somewhere final. Betrayal wasn't loud. It was quiet, patient, and already walking beside me. I closed my eyes for a moment and chose faith over instinct. That decision followed me forward, steady and blind. It felt easier than questioning, easier than fear, and much easier than accepting the truth, waiting for me.
Pain pulled me back before light did. I heard breathing that wasn't mine and thought the bear had returned. Don't move, a rough voice said. I tried anyway and screamed. Easy, he said. You're alive, barely. I opened my eyes and saw a cabin roof, smoke stains, and a man with scars like maps on his hands. Who are you? I asked. Henry, he said. Drink. I swallowed bitterness and tasted blood. My body felt borrowed, wrong, stitched together by fire. I drifted in and out. Leaves, teeth, chains, her voice. I'm sorry, I woke shaking. Henry pressed a cloth to my side. You were mauled, he said. Don't talk. She pushed me, I whispered. He didn't ask who. Breathe, he said. Pain answered for me. Why am I here? I asked. He paused. Because I found you. Why save me? My mouth barely worked, days blurred. He fed me, cleaned wounds, stitched skin. I screamed and apologized. Quiet, he said. You want to live? I nodded. At night, the forest replayed her face. I asked, did she come back? Henry said, no. I laughed and cried together. They'll look for me, I said. He shook his head. They already stopped. He handed me a phone. Muse said I was missing. Presumed dead. My body healed like it didn't trust me. My mind broke faster. I saw claws and shadows. I heard chains and wind. Sleep, Henry said. I can't, I replied. Why did you really save me? I asked again. He stared into the fire. Because someone once left me to die too. I waited. He didn't explain. Does it stop? I asked. No, he said. You learn to carry it. His honesty hurt. One morning, strength returned with anger. I need to know, I said. Am I dead? Henry slid papers across the table. Reported missing, he said. After days, they called it. I read her name. Evelyn. The report said I vanished. My hands shook. She did this, I said. She let them believe it. Henry nodded. That lie will keep you alive. I swallowed hard. Or free. Pain stayed, but fear changed. What now? I asked. Henry said, heal, learn, decide. I touched my scars. She wanted me gone. He replied, then stay gone. The idea settled heavy and sharp. If they think I'm dead, I said, I can breathe. Henry met my eyes, and choose who you become. Outside, wind moved through trees like whispers. I felt numb, emptied, but something else stirred. Advantage. Space. Time. I lay back and stared at the ceiling. I was supposed to die there, I said. Henry answered, you didn't. I closed my eyes and let the truth hurt. The world had buried me without a body. The woman I loved had signed the silence. That one cut deepest, yet it kept me hidden. I'd breathed carefully, counting seconds, alive in the space between what I was and what I could be next. Henry left me alone with soup and quiet. I listened to my heartbeat and asked myself, who mourns me? No answer came. I imagined Evelyn telling the story, crying on cue. My chest went hollow. I'm still here, I whispered. The room answered nothing. I understood then that death had already happened, just not to my body. It happened to my name. I held that thought like a weapon and a shield. If the world believed I was gone, I could survive without being seen. I finished the soup, wiped my mouth, and said out loud, I'll live. Saying it hurt, believing it would take longer. I stayed still, breathing slow, letting pain pass, letting anger wait, knowing tomorrow I would begin learning how to disappear properly. Henry knocked once, said nothing, and that silence taught me more than comfort ever could. It meant survival was my responsibility now. Not love, not hope, just choice alone. I woke stronger, but emptier. I could stand without shaking, and Henry noticed. Again, he said. We trained daily. He taught me fire, water, food, and silence. No one saves you, he said. You save yourself. I answered, I don't know who that is. He replied. Good, find him. My body rebuilt slowly. My hands stopped trembling. My mind argued. I asked the trees, why her? They said nothing. I stopped asking. I started listening. Pain became instruction, anger became fuel. I worked. I bled, I learned. I survived. At night I spoke to ghosts. You loved her, I told myself. Love isn't shelter. Henry watched, said nothing, and that helped. The man I was begged, but the man I needed stood up. I let the begging fade. I kept standing. I kept quiet. I kept going, forward. Weeks passed. My scars closed, my strength returned. Henry pushed harder. Dependence kills, he said. I answered, so does hope. He nodded. Hope with work survives. I hauled wood, set traps, fixed roofs, and failed often. Failure taught patience. Patience taught control. I stopped saying her name. When memories came, I spoke aloud. You chose wrong, I said. I choose next. Henry listened from doors, pretended not to hear. One morning he said, you need a doctor. I refused. You need papers, he added. I followed. Dr. Nolan worked quiet. Hold still, he said. You heal fast. I asked, am I dead? He slid documents. Legally, yes. My chest loosened. Fear turned useful. Names became masks. Dates became doors. I signed nothing. I memorized everything. Nolan warned, No returns. I smiled. Not yet. Henry grunted approval. Simons agreed. I felt lighter. I felt sharper. I felt new. Enough, not complete. Ready. Almost. I buried my old life deliberately. I burned letters, photos, and plans. Why? Henry asked. Because he's weak, I said, and I need strength. He answered, strength costs. I paid daily. I stopped defending myself to memories. I stopped explaining. When questions rose, I answered simply. I live. Work filled hours. Hours filled nights. I practiced calm. I practiced restraint. I practiced patience. Henry tested me. If you see her, what do you do? I said, nothing. He raised a brow. If you see him? I answered, still nothing. Why? Because noise reveals, I said, and silence builds. Henry smiled once. It felt earned. I chose a name, then discarded it. I chose habits instead. Sleep early. Eat clean. Train honest. I watched anger obey. I watched grief quiet. I watched fear wait. The man I was begged again. I shook my head. Rest, I told him. I'll take it from here. Alone. Dr. Nolan finished the work. You're cleared, he said. Disappear carefully, I thanked him. Henry packed supplies. You leave soon, he said. I asked, what if I want revenge? He answered, revenge wants witnesses. I nodded, I don't. We planned routes, cash, and rules. No names spoken, no habits kept, no ties allowed. Henry said, you'll itch to return. I said, not yet. Why wait? Because timing beats fury, I replied. He nodded again. That nod mattered. I folded papers. I burned copies. I memorized exits. You're unrecognizable, Henry said. I checked the mirror. Scars mapped truth. Eyes held distance. I felt steady. I felt dangerous. I felt patient. Revenge waited outside me. I closed the door. Later, I said. Henry replied, live first, I agreed, breathing slowed. Purpose sharpened. I stepped away. North, then east, then nowhere, becoming less. Becoming more. Unseen, prepared, patient, alive, not returning yet, not recognizable, not finished. I decided the terms. I wouldn't hunt. I wouldn't plead. That was enough. I shouldered my pack. Pain whispered, but obeyed. Fear stayed back. Hope worked quietly. I walked until dusk. I rested without dreams. I woke decisive. I repeated rules aloud. No noise, no proof, no rush. The man I buried stayed buried. I chose life first. I chose patience second. Revenge became optional. Identity became fluid. I practiced names. I discarded them. I practiced faces. I erased them. I practiced silence. It answered. I looked back once. The cabin held. The forest released. I didn't wave. I didn't promise. I didn't plan speeches. I planned survival. I planned return. Unrecognizable. Certain. Back in the city, I wore a borrowed name and a careful face. I walked past places that knew my footsteps and felt nothing greet me. Keep moving, I told myself. Evelyn's face stared from posters about resilience and loss. She smiled beside Marcus, a ring bright on her hand. Silence sat on me like armor and a wound. Am I weak for waiting? I asked Lena across a small table. She stirred her coffee and said, waiting isn't weakness. Waiting without thinking is, I replied. I think constantly. She smiled. About control? I said, about consequences. She leaned in. And fear? I answered, every hour. She nodded. Good, fear sharpens ethics. I exhaled. Ethics don't stop monsters. She said, exposure does. I shook my head. Too soon turns truth into noise. She watched me. You're choosing restraint, I said. Restraint is pain. She replied, so is regret. I stayed quiet while Marcus tightened. I heard it in his voice at fundraisers. Smile wider, he snapped to staff. No questions. Someone laughed too late. His jaw clenched. We control the story, he said. I wrote it down. Control. Fear. Paranoia. He checked phones, canceled meetings, whispered with lawyers. Scandal kills, he muttered once, pacing. I blended into the room. Relax, someone told him. He didn't. He watched exits. He watched shadows. He watched me without seeing me. Pressure showed cracks. Cracks invite light. Evelyn changed too. Her smile wavered. She rubbed her temples and said, "I didn't sleep." A friend asked, "Nightmares again?" Evelyn forced a laugh. "Just stress." Later, alone, she whispered, "I hear him." I stopped breathing. She touched her stomach. "I'm sorry," she said to the air. I felt no triumph. Only weight. Guilt had found her and moved in. It didn't need me. It haunted her mornings, followed her nights, pressed between breaths. I watched it work. Lena challenged me again. "You could end this," she said. "Now," I replied, "and lose the truth," she frowned. "Truth isn't fragile," I said. "It is when shouted." She tapped the table. "You're protecting her," I shook my head. "I'm protecting evidence." She paused. "And yourself?" I answered, "from becoming him." She softened. "Then keep your hands clean." I nodded. "Time does the work." She said, "Time costs," I replied. "So does haste." Restraint hurt more than action. Every laugh she gave felt like theft. Every promise he made felt like theft. My hands wanted motion. My mouth wanted fire. I denied both. I watched schedules, listened for slips, counted inconsistencies. When anger rose, I named it. Later, when grief surged, I named it too. Later, naming gave me distance. Distance gave me clarity. Clarity gave me patience. I followed Marcus one night. He snapped, "Don't ask me that." He slammed a door. I smiled in the dark. Fear makes noise. I followed Evelyn another night. She cried quietly. "I can't undo it," she whispered. "I didn't step forward, I stepped back." Silence held. Silence weighed. Silence worked. Lena texted. "Still waiting?" I wrote. "Still learning," she replied. "From whom?" I typed, "From them." She sent a single word. "Careful." I answered, "Always." I chose restraint again, not mercy. Strategy. I understood then that revenge doesn't always need my hands. It needs time, pressure, and truth breathing on its own. I stayed silent and felt the weight press harder, but I also felt it tilt. The balance was shifting without me touching it. I let it. Power doesn't fall with a scream. It whispers. I heard the whisper at a charity dinner when Marcus snapped. "Check the numbers again." Someone said, "They already did." He smiled too fast. "Do it again." I leaned near the bar and listened. "Accounts are frozen," a lawyer murmured. Marcus hissed, "Fix it." My pulse stayed calm. I wrote nothing. I watched hands shake. Evelyn noticed. "Are you okay?" She asked him. "Perfect," he said, jaw tight. Applause followed. He didn't clap. The room felt smaller. I felt steady. Karma doesn't announce itself. It waits for doors to close. Legal letters arrived quietly. "Routine review," a voice said on speaker. Marcus paced. "Why now?" he asked. "Because patterns exist," the voice replied. Evelyn touched her ring. "What patterns?" she asked. Silence answered. Later she said, "I keep dreaming." I stayed outside the circle. "Dreaming of what?" a friend asked. "The forest," Evelyn whispered. "And chains." My breath stopped. She rubbed her arms. "I need answers," Marcus snapped. "Stop digging." She looked at him like she didn't recognize him. She went back alone. I followed far behind. The trees remembered me. Evelyn spoke to the dirt. "I didn't know," she said. "I thought you were gone." I stepped forward, then stopped. Confrontation would steal the lesson. I let the forest answer her. She found the rusted chain. "This wasn't an accident," she said. Her knees buckled. Marcus lied. I turned away. Some truths need solitude. I chose distance. Distance keeps truth intact. Lena worked quietly. "Money trails?" she said, sliding files. "Illegal hunts." "Off books?" I asked. "The enclosure?" She nodded. "Paid for." I exhaled. "By Marcus?" "Through shells," she replied. "Enough to prove intent," I said. "Slow." She smiled. "Already am." Marcus unraveled. "Who talked?" He barked at staff. "Find leaks." His voice cracked. I said, "Find them." Phones disappeared. Meetings canceled. Fear ran the room. I stayed invisible and counted errors. Errors multiply under pressure. Evelyn searched again. "Did he suffer?" she asked a ranger. "No record," he said. She pressed. "Anything unusual?" He shrugged. "Old chains." She closed her eyes. "I need to know." I almost stepped out. I felt the urge claw. I stayed still. She had to finish the walk alone. Lena called. Charges soon, she said. Financial crimes. Wildlife violations. I answered. Let it breathe. She agreed. Breathing. Night fell. Headlines softened. Donations paused. Marcus argued with lawyers. We'll bury this, he said. They didn't answer. Evelyn whispered to empty rooms. I'm sorry. I heard it. I carried it. The trap tightened without me touching it. I learned patience as sound. It sounds like quiet rooms, stalled checks, nervous laughs, and truth waking up when lies get tired. I walked away before dawn. Not yet, I told my reflection. I chose absence. Lena texted, You're sure? I wrote, Yes, she replied. Then watch closely. I did. Marcus lost a lies. Distance yourselves, donors said. He pleaded. We're family. They weren't. Evelyn stopped smiling. I can't breathe, she told a friend. Then rest, the friend said. She couldn't. I felt the pull to end it. I refused. Ending it early would steal understanding. Understanding is justice that lasts. I waited. The city waited. Time pressed. The first crack spread. I stayed small and careful. Any movement? Lena asked. Soon, I said. She paused. You okay? I answered, focused. Focus hid shaking hands. I counted breaths and doors. Marcus shouted. Control the narrative. No one moved. His fear leaked. Evelyn stared at a wall and said, He trusted me. Silence answered her. I didn't. I left them with their echoes. I understood then that karma isn't loud. It's cumulative. It stacks facts, tightens screws, and lets people hear themselves. I kept my distance and let the work continue. By morning, pressure showed everywhere. Emails stalled. Calls dropped. Marcus whispered, Fix it, to no one. Evelyn held her belly and said, I deserve answers. She would get them. I stepped back into shadow and chose patience again. The first crack had formed. It would widen. I watched without touching, knowing time would finish what fear started, and truth would arrive carrying its own weight at last for them alone now. She saw me at the crosswalk. The light changed, people moved, and our eyes locked. Her face strained, my scars burned. I didn't look away, she whispered. You. I said nothing. The crowd swallowed sound, but shock spoke clearly. She stepped back, hand on her stomach, breath shaking. I felt calm. Survival teaches calm. The moment lasted long enough to repay every night I screamed into dirt. I thought you were dead, she said. I replied. You told them I... The alert buzzed while I stood in line for coffee. Breaking news, the screen said. I didn't need sound. Marcus's face filled it, pale, furious, surrounded by uniforms. Someone near me said, About time. Another whispered, I knew it. I stepped aside and watched silently. He shouted, This is a mistake. No one answered. The cuffs clicked. That sound felt final. I didn't smile. I breathed. Are you watching? Lena asked later. I am, I replied. He's done, she said. I answered. He's finished pretending. She paused. You won't testify, I said. There's nothing to add. She agreed. The paper trail speaks. It did. Accounts seized. Properties frozen. Partners fled. The empire collapsed without a speech. Lies don't hold weight when facts arrive together. Evelyn's name followed his in headlines. Complicit, the anchor said. I turned the volume down. My phone lit up. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Lena texted again. She's asking for you, I typed. She doesn't need me. The news showed her leaving a building, eyes down, ring gone. Reporters asked questions she couldn't dodge. I felt nothing sharp. Only quiet. I walked past a courthouse and heard voices. He threatened us, a man said. He controlled everything. Another added, we were scared. I nodded to myself. Fear feeds power until truth starves it. Marcus believed himself untouchable. That belief did the damage. I never chased him. I let gravity work. At night, I watched interviews. Did you order his death? Someone asked Evelyn. She shook. No, she said. The pause told the rest. I turned it off. I didn't need confession. Evidence doesn't ask permission. It arrives and stays. Lena called. Any regrets? She asked. I thought, no, I said. Relief. She replied, that counts. I met Henry in my head and heard his voice. Noise reveals. I had stayed quiet. The noise came anyway. It always does. I poured water and sat. The city hummed. A siren passed. I didn't flinch. Release feels like that. Not joy. Not vengeance. Just space. Another alert pinged. Sentencing pending. I locked the phone. I remembered chains and dirt and teeth. I remembered breathing through pain. You're alive, I told myself. The fall happened without my hands. That mattered. I didn't want blood on me. I wanted truth done right. Lena sent a final update. They're asking where you are, I wrote, unavailable. She replied, good answer. I smiled once. The case moved forward. Donations returned to causes he'd used as shields. Boards resigned. Names disappeared from buildings. His voice vanished. Power is loud until it's gone. I passed a mirror and checked my face. Calm, older, free. I said out loud, it's over. The words didn't echo. They settled. I thought of Evelyn's silence and Marcus's fear. Neither needed me anymore. Consequences had taken over. I walked outside and felt the night air. A stranger said, crazy day. I nodded. Yeah, that was enough. I didn't want witnesses to my relief. I didn't want applause. I wanted distance. The man who ordered my death lost everything because he trusted the lie of immunity. I never hunted him. I let the truth do what truth does when given time and room. I went home and slept without dreams. In the morning, the city moved on. I did too. Release isn't loud. It's clean. It leaves space where rage once lived and asks nothing in return. Silence followed the headlines and it felt heavier than noise. I called Henry. It's over, I said. He replied, is it? I answered, the fall is. He said, sit with what's left. I met him by the river. You look lighter, he said. I feel hollow, I replied. He nodded. Revenge promises fullness. I said, it didn't deliver. He asked, what did? I said, breathing. Lena joined us later. You stayed quiet, she said. You let it end itself. I replied, I wanted truth clean. She asked, and now? I said, now I don't know. She smiled gently. Knowing comes after choosing, Henry added. Survival changed you. I said, it hardened me. He answered, healing softens without weakening. I looked away, I don't know how. Lena said, you decide. We talked plainly. I expected relief to feel bigger, I said. Henry replied, movies lie. Lena laughed softly. Closure is small, she said. It fits in pockets. I asked, what do I do with the anger? Henry said, use it less. I asked, what about fear? Lena answered, name it, I said. What about her? Silence held. Henry finally said, not yours. A letter arrived. No return address. I knew the handwriting. I won't ask forgiveness, she wrote. I only admit the cost. She described isolation, shame, and nights without sleep. She wrote, ambition emptied me. I read once. I didn't argue with it. I didn't circle lines. I didn't reply. I folded the paper and placed it away. Silence felt correct. Henry asked, you sure? I said, yes. Lena asked, no statement? I said, no. She nodded. Silence is an answer. I felt it settle. Not victory, not mercy. Choice. I chose not to reopen wounds. I chose not to narrate pain. I chose forward. That night, I told myself the truth. Survival saved you, I said. Healing is voluntary. I practiced small decisions. Sleep, food, work, honesty. I stopped scanning rooms. I stopped counting exits. I listened when people spoke. I spoke when I meant it. I walked by the river alone. You alive? Henry had asked earlier. I answered now, yes. The word felt earned. Revenge couldn't give me this quiet. Silence did. I let it stay. I considered replying, rehearsed sentences, and deleted them all. Any message becomes a bridge, Lena had warned. Bridges invite crossing, Henry agreed. Some roads close best without signs, I believe them. I put the letter in a drawer and closed it. Days passed. My body learned mornings again. I ran, cooked, worked, and laughed once at a bad joke. It surprised me. I told Lena. I laughed. She replied, good. I told Henry. I slept. He said, better. I asked, is this healing? Lena answered, it's choosing. I chose again the next day and the next. When anger knocked, I said, Later. When grief sat down, I said, stay if you must. Neither ruled me. Silence did not erase the past. It placed it where it couldn't steer me. I accepted that some endings don't need words. They need space. I met Henry once more before leaving town. You good? He asked. I'm choosing, I said. He nodded. Lena called later. Still silent? She asked. Yes, I said. Still okay? Yes. We hung up. I felt steady. Revenge had promised fire. Silence gave ground. I stepped forward without looking back, carrying nothing but breath and intention, and that was enough. Tomorrow, I will keep choosing, quietly, carefully, and fully, letting life answer questions I no longer need to ask. While peace grows where anger once lived, finally, steadily, honestly, free. Now. I used my real name again. Saying it out loud felt strange, like trying on an old coat after years of bare skin. You sure? The clerk asked. I said, yes. He stamped the paper. The sound was small. Final. I walked outside and breathed without checking who watched. No hiding. No performance. Just me. Henry called. You back? He asked. Fully, I said. He laughed once. Good, I replied. You taught me survival. He answered. You taught yourself life. We hung up. No speeches. That fit us. Lena met me for coffee. Different posture, she said. Different man, I replied. She asked, happy? I said, present. She smiled. That lasts? I thanked her. For patience, I added.